Good evening, folks. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to discuss everybody's favorite topic, especially on a Friday evening, taxes and taxation on controversial things like unrealized gains. So I put a poll out asking what all of you all thought about the idea that was recently proposed about taxing unrealized gains. And I realize not everybody may actually understand the distinction on that. So typically, and I'll just explain this really quick, when you buy and sell a stock or any kind of investment, whatever gain or loss you have is not actually realized until you sell that. So when you buy something, like if say you buy 1,000 shares of a stock for $10 a share, and then the stock goes up to $15, well, per share, you have an unrealized gain of $5 per share. Until you sell that $5 per share gain doesn't actually become realized until you sell it, which under the system, and this is completely normal, you have a capital gain on that $5. That becomes a realized gain. It's officially on the books. You've realized that you have the money realized in your pocket and you owe tax on it, which is totally normal. But this new idea goes to an entirely new level. Unrealized gains are gains that you have not realized. If you have a stock that's gone up $5 per share, you haven't sold that stock, so the gain is not realized. So on the surface, it's like, well, why in the heck would you have to pay tax on a gain that you haven't realized? It's just completely crazy. So, I mean, there's got to be a little bit more to it, but on the surface, the proposal just seems egregious. But I pulled up an article here from Investopedia, just going over what I said. And the reason this has been in the news, because as of March 28th, the White House has proposed a 20% minimum tax on multimillionaires and billionaires in its fiscal year 2023 budget proposal. The proposed tax would apply to the unrealized gains of households worth over 100 million. So that's the catch. They're hitting like households over $100 million, but things are always kind of controversially divided among rich versus poor income lines. I mean, obviously this wouldn't affect me. This wouldn't affect probably the majority of people, but taxing an unrealized gain just seems ludicrous on the surface. I mean, I can understand why it upsets people, and I can understand how it would impact investing. And obviously people would sell or just get rid of stuff before this would even go into effect to avoid that tax. But yeah, like I said, so gains and losses are the inevitable outcomes of investing. Every investor seeks gains, but when things don't go as hoped, there's a good chance an investment portfolio will experience losses. And the same thing that I said for gains applies to losses. If you have a loss, this is why people buy and hold a lot of times. This is why long-term investors, they ignore the paper gain. They refer to it as a paper gain. Well, any investor, that's really the basic idea. It's a paper gain until it's sold, an unrealized gain. So I just kind of wanted to explain that. Both gains and losses can be divided into realized and unrealized. Investors realize a gain or loss when they sell an asset. It's just like selling a house. Like if you bought your house for 200,000, it's worth 400,000 today, you have like an unrealized gain of 200,000. Well, your equity's grown to 200,000, but it's not actually a realized gain because the money, it doesn't go into your pocket until you sell. So that's the idea of realized versus unrealized. I knew that not everybody actually may understand that. And I knew at least one person would think it was a brilliant idea in my poll. Different strokes for different folks, right? No offense to anybody if you think it's a good idea. I mean, it's a free country. But in my opinion, I'm trying not to alienate anybody, but I think it's kind of crazy. But I did figure that income threshold was there was some caveat to that based on income, because that's usually how these proposals come about. Let me just go through the key takeaways here from this. An unrealized gain is an increase in the value of an asset or investment that the investor has not sold, such as an open stock position, like we said. An unrealized loss is a decrease in the value of an ongoing investment. A gain or loss of an investment is realized when it's sold. Capital gains are taxed. Capital losses may be deducted only after they're realized from the sale of an asset. That's the current system. That's completely normal. Unrealized gains and losses remain subject to change, but they can help you minimize the tax you owe. Anyway, so that's that. I had something up here before. I chose not to start with this because it's from last month, basically. So it's not that old. Time's actually flying. We're in mid-April. So yeah, this is a minimum 20% tax rate that would hit both the income and unrealized capital gains of U.S. households worth more than 100 million. The billionaire minimum income tax is supposed to help pay for the Build Back Better plan, I guess, which it could generate 360 billion new revenues over 10 years. We'll see whether it goes through or not. Unfortunately, what happens with a lot of this stuff when we have a change of administrations and change of Congress, we get the spending, but then we don't get necessary tax increases to come with it in a fair way. So like if Congress changes hands this fall, we probably will see a slowdown in any increase in taxes, but we've added trillions of dollars to the deficit. So that's not necessarily a good thing. But anyway, that's another rabbit hole outside of the scope of this video. Hope you enjoyed that. It's kind of a boring subject, but I just wanted to clarify it. If you like that, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much and take care. Have a good weekend. Happy Easter.